Hey, so glad you are back with us on Wealthy Living New Mexico. Brad Johansson along with Sean Keeney, the founder, his son Tyler Keeney, financial consultant with Keeney Wealth and Retirement. Guys, I've gotten a chance to hang with you for a few weeks here. It's been kind of nice. Thanks for letting me hang.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Been fun. It's going to be a great one today.
We're enjoying it. They're all great ones because the education is exactly what you're looking for. How do I figure this whole retirement thing out? Diversification. Can I bring up the word because you've been told, you know what, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You've got to be diversified. This is all on the accumulation climb. And figuring out that diversification perfect puzzle, how does it fit? Am I really in that spot where I've got all my eggs out here and they're not just hanging in one spot? Maybe you're too diversified. Could we actually lead into that we're moving in a different spot. You've been accumulating for decades, right? Some of you maybe more than 40 years. This whole retirement thing is a distribution phase and it's very different. But if I bring that up, Sean, to say, is there potential you're too diversified? What am I leading into on something like that you say needs to be examined a little bit today?
Yeah, and it's an interesting topic, and we've all heard it, right? Don't have all your eggs in one basket, right? But what we find when we sit down and look at people's portfolio and really dig in and see what they own inside their portfolio, we find that a lot of times they're almost too diversified. What do I mean by that? They have some in large cap stocks, some in mid cap, some in small cap, some in international, a lot in bonds, like we've talked about in other shows.
Yeah.
And that type of portfolio may have worked well in 20, 30 years ago, especially the bond piece, that maybe it's not working so well today. And so we find that a lot of times, and we have a strategy we'll talk about here in a second, that if you're a little more laser focused, you can get a lot higher returns instead of being so diversified.
Okay. I do have large cap. I do have small cap. I do have mid cap. I do have bonds. How does that make me too diversified? And what are the solutions if I have been in this quote unquote cookie cutter portfolio that I've been told to be in?
Okay, so like I tell people, having your money in 30 different mutual funds, doesn't mean you're diversified, because here's what I've learned about the market in my years of doing this. When it's going up, the market's going up, rising tide lifts all ships, sure, right? Sure. But when it's going down, pretty much everything moves in unison, okay? So you're not really diversified just because you're in 30 different mutual funds, okay? And you're not really diversified if you're in bonds, because like we talked about in other shows, why do we even have bonds? Because they're supposed to be the safe, more conservative part of our portfolio, right? In case the market's dropping.
Don't want it to be quite as volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they used to get pretty good yields, like 4, 5, 6% on that money. So it was less volatile, but at least you were earning something on it. But now, the last 5 years, I can look at almost any bond fund out there, and we see it every day when folks come into our office. I show them, look, did you realize you have 50%, 40% of your 401k in this bond fund over here? Let's look up the yield. It's only yielding 2%. You have half your money in that. And to boot, I bet you thought bonds were safe. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, that's what I've heard. No, let me show you. We pull up Yahoo Finance on the screen in our conference room, and we show them pretty much every bond fund the last 5 years is down 15% or more. And we ask the client, did you realize that you were yielding 2% on half your money on something you thought was safe, or they pitched to you as conservative, and it's down 15% the last 5 years and hasn't recovered? So it's those kind of things when you really dig deep into someone's portfolio that they're too diversified and there's a big drag on that performance.
Do you know what you have? We do this quite often, and I'm going to open up the quiz that the Keeneys have put together for you. It is kwealthquiz.com. You can scan the QR code right here. It won't take you more than just a few minutes to say, what do I have? Where is my risk? Am I prepared? And it may even ask you some questions about where I am that will kind of open your eyes about diversification. You scan this and you're going to want some help, because the idea is I'm not even sure exactly where I am. And Tyler, you and I have kind of talked about this on the program before. Many of the people who are walking in don't have a clue what they have, because they've simply been told, this is where you put your money. By the time I'm done with this, I'm going to walk in and you tell me whether or not I'm going to retire. Pretty common.
It's every single day, if I'm being honest. People come in, they don't know what they have. And what happened is, several years ago while they were still working, they got put into their 401k IRA. They set up their match, how much they're contributing, and then they just forgot it. Yep. Set it and forget it, right? So their whole idea is to just buy and hold. Let's just ride it out. The market outperforms everything, as we've all heard. But in reality, it's just buy and hope. You hope everything goes up.
Yeah.
And so with that, it's incredibly common for people to come in and just say, here's what I have. And what they have is just a pile of papers, like he says, a POS, pile of statements.
Yep.
And it's hard sometimes, because these people could have been making triple the amount of money they were making the last 10 years.
Yes.
And of course, hindsight is 20/20. But the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, right? The next best time is today.
Yeah.
And so it's just important to get to know. If you don't know if you can't confidently look me in the eye right now and tell me this is what I have and this is why, come in. Let's take a look at what you've got.
Go ahead, Sean.
I've got a quick client story based on that.
Please
Just
share.
a few weeks ago, we met with a lady who came in who has a pretty large portfolio, and she just wasn't happy with the growth. And so when I dug into her portfolio, literally a third of her money in there was in some weird mutual fund I had never heard of. And I looked up the performance of that mutual fund the last 10 years. It was like 2.5%, 3%. And so I asked her, did you tell your advisor you wanted your portfolio to be really conservative? She was young. You know, she's only like 58 now. So
no reason to be conservative.
Yeah, no reason to be that conservative. So I said, well, maybe she told him to be conservative. She said, no, I never told him that I wanted to be this conservative. And that's another example as well of people just not knowing what they have, what they own inside their portfolios, their 401ks. And also, unfortunately, there's a lot of advisors out there, like Tyler said. There's a lot of great advisors, but there's a lot of advisors that are kind of lazy and they just set it and forget it. And I said, that advisor should have been, when's the last time he met with you? Oh, about 4 years ago. He should have been on top of that, like, man, there's no need to be in this low performing asset when there's much better options and you're so young. She was like, yeah, I guess my advisor was asleep at the wheel.
You strike a huge chord with me on a lot of folks, and I think many of you watching have an advisor, as you should. 4 years between conversations with you and your advisor. I never told him that I was going to be conservative. What's different, Tyler, about what you do with your clients in creating, I think it's fair to say, a lifelong relationship, because you're now part of the family. This is no longer a set it and forget it proposition on retirement.
Yeah, it's ongoing. A lot of the plans that we set up for people, it takes us time to get these plans to play out the way we want them to. So even if we wanted to, just if there was a client, for example, that we didn't want to meet with, it would be impossible for us not to, because we design our plans to where it's ongoing. We don't want to be transactional. So what that means is at least once a year, we meet with our clients to do an annual review, at least once a year. That's the minimum that you should be getting from your advisor. But we would like to see you more often at our client events, our dinner events, or even just in the office. As well as we like to incorporate the rest of the family. Why are we going to make a plan for the parents without informing the children about it? Why are we going to tell them, hey, position your assets this way so that when you pass them on to your children, they know how to receive it correctly? It's important to have the conversation with both of those parties so that you can be totally confident in where you're at. And that's totally different from what a lot of people do, because they really just want your money so they can make money off of you. They don't really care about having a relationship with you or being in that family role with you. They just want your business.
This is all that you have amassed and all that you have worked for. Wouldn't you want somebody to take care of it the way you would like it to be taken care of, like part of the family? Hopefully you've taken the quiz, you've scanned the QR code. It is now time to, for many of you, goodness gracious, I'm in that boat. I'd like a second opinion. I'd like to make a call to 877-697-6236. What's that get me? Complimentary written financial plan to cover all of the bases, to maybe get you to a point to say, I would like to know what I have and what I need to change. 877-697-6236. Let's put together a plan for you. Talk more about that after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Hey, we're so glad you're with us on Wealthy Living New Mexico. Brad Johansson with Sean and Tyler Keeney, Keeney Wealth and Retirement. We're glad you're with us. I put the quiz up. I'll do it again. For a lot of you, sometimes you're just walking in and going, what did I catch here? You may have caught a moment now to finally get you prepared, or at least a kick in the pants to say, I probably ought to get going on this. This procrastinating thing's not working out well for me. And maybe I need a little bit of knowledge. kwealthquiz.com is the spot that you can go to on the website. You can scan the QR code and take this probably 5, 6, 7 minute quiz, depending on how long you're thinking about the questions, to get an idea of where you are in preparation for all of this. We're talking about being potentially too diversified, meaning for a lot of you, you have used wealth accumulation advisors and now you're moving into distribution, but your advisor hasn't spoken to you about doing anything different because the runway is now shortening. Changing that might mean something for him as far as how he makes his money, or her as far as how she makes her money. And the idea is they're not worried about you and how your money is going to last for the next 30 years. When we talk about second opinions, Sean, and moving in out of this too diversified, give me some of the strategies that you're talking about that you're kind of relying on individually for a lot of your clients coming in now.
Great question. So one of the services that we provide in that first meeting is we encourage people, bring in your statements. Get a second set of eyes on your statements and see what you really own and see really how diversified you are. Because I run into so many people that they just take their advisor's word at, oh, my guy said I'm conservative. Then we look and we can show them, well, your exact portfolio, we can stress test it. We can say, if another 2008 happens, your exact holdings here are going to lose 43%.
By historically what we've seen and how you are positioned in your portfolio.
Exactly. So there's that part of just seeing really how diversified you are. And then like the example I gave previously, we find, and I'm going to keep hammering on it, but this old 60% in stocks, 40% portfolio, there's a lot of articles about it out there. I'm not the only one saying it. There's a lot of people on TV saying that 60-40 model is dead.
Yeah.
It's something that worked well maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, but the world was different then. The world has changed now. There's better options. There's more efficient options out there than what used to work 20, 30 years ago. But what do we see? The typical person that comes in, their money is allocated the exact same way that it was allocated 30, 40 years ago.
Okay, if there are better options, Tyler, give me some better alternatives. Because if we're talking bonds, we're the safe alternative. Are there better safe alternatives now?
Yeah, absolutely. And the first one that comes to mind are fixed indexed annuities. They're amazing. They'll keep your money safe. They'll give you good growth, anywhere from 4 to 8% a year. For a safe product, getting that sort of return is outstanding.
Yep.
And not to mention, they grow tax deferred. And with those can provide you a private pension, or they can give you long-term care coverage and really stretch your dollars out and get the most bang for your buck that you can possibly get. So fixed index annuities outperform bonds with growth. They're just as safe, and they also provide so many more benefits that bonds can't even think about.
Well, and even in you talking about that, and I know you guys talk about this in workshops quite a bit as well, it's not just saying, hey, here's the fixed index annuity. It's that this market of trying to provide safe income with hedges and with multiple options on what they can do, it's not just this annuity. There are so many options to do what you need it to do, because the purpose determines placement, that this is now stretched out into a spot that if you increase your runway by starting this earlier, the options before you are so much greater.
Exactly. Like we're talking about bonds. Why have 30, 40, 50% of your money in bonds, like we've talked about, that are losing money because interest rates are going up? Bonds can lose money contrary to popular opinion, and they're yielding 2% when you look at them. Why not reposition some of that money? You want to be conservative on that part of your portfolio? Okay, I get it, but there's much better option than bonds. Why not reposition that, like Tyler said, into a fixed indexed annuity that's going to earn you more like 4 to 8% a year consistently versus 2% on a bond?
Yeah.
And it can provide you lifetime income, like a private pension, which we're really big on. Bonds don't do that. Okay. And then, like we talked about the long-term care annuity, we can reposition those bonds or your CD money, things like that, into an account where it's going to grow, okay? 4, 5, 6% interest a year, okay? But if you need long-term care, there's a little bit of underwriting that goes along with it, but most people can qualify for. Let's say we grew your money from 50 to 80,000 in this bond alternative account, and at that point in your life, you needed long-term care. For most people, the insurance company is going to triple that 80,000 for long-term care. So you're going to get $240,000 paid out over a few years for long-term care. It's just a smarter place to have your money positioned than bonds. And again, I keep harping on it, but I see it every day. Folks are too diversified, having 40, 50% of their money, sometimes more than that, in bonds that just don't work like they used to work 20 and 30 years ago. There's better options that are going to keep you safe, get you more growth, and had some added benefits like long-term care if you need it.
Tyler, this is where we talk about getting kind of this red zone of retirement 5 years before, the 5 years in, and having that runway of saying before we can start to layer a plan for an individual on placing money in different places for the purpose that's designed for different times in retirement.
Yeah, I'll say this, in football, each opponent has its own strategy that you would approach them with. I'm not going to play team A the same way I played team B. And what am I referring to? The plan has to be specific to your needs. Maybe you have long-term care covered already. Okay, let's plan around that now. Let's not just put you in a one-size-fits-all type of plan. Let's tailor it to your needs, what you want your retirement to look like, what you want your life to look like. It's different for each person, and don't allow anybody to put you into a box. Don't allow anybody to try to tell you that your situation is the same as your friends or maybe your relatives. You are you, and you need your own plan because everybody has a plan for your money. The government, your kids, everybody. What's your plan? Let's get that dialed.
Let's put that together for you. And maybe you've waited way too long to get to this point. Okay, here we are. The I wish I would have's have passed. Do it now. 877-697-6236 to put together your complimentary written financial plan that is yours for your retirement. We're back after this.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Hey, glad you're with us on Wealthy Living New Mexico. Brad Johansson along with Sean and Tyler Keeney, Keeney Wealth and Retirement. And we are talking about diversification. Too little, too much. We talk about the accumulation phase all the time, Sean. And now we're moving into something different, but you like the idea of continuing to grow even as we're putting together this retirement plan.
Exactly. And one thing I want to mention is a strategy that our clients have access to. It's an institutional money management strategy. So let's think about the S&P 500. I'm going to keep it really basic right now. How many stocks do you think are in the S&P 500 index? 500, right?
That's probably a good number.
Yeah. So what we found is that why have your money spread out? And you hear all the financial experts out there from Warren Buffett to Dave Ramsey and all these people talk about just buy the S&P 500 and hold it forever and you'll average 10 or 15% a year, right? Okay, we've all heard that advice, but here's what I would say. Why, instead of having your money spread across 500 different companies, when you really dive into the performance and what's really driving the market, there's really only 30 or 40 companies or stocks that are really driving the growth we've seen the last 5 or 10 years. So a lot of our clients have taken advantage of what we call the focus large cap growth strategy.
Yeah.
We focus on the 30 largest stocks in the S&P 500. That's all that's in that strategy. It's not over diversified. It's just those 30 biggest companies in the world, being laser focused, like we say. It's good to be diversified, but most of the people we find, they're too diversified. They own too many stocks, too many mutual funds. Just find the ones that are really driving the market, focus on those. And then on the flip side, we find a lot of people are just too conservative. We run into people all the time that have $500,000, $800,000 in cash in the bank. I call that lazy money. And I ask them, why do you have that much? It's good to have savings in the bank, but it can get to the point where you actually are doing yourself a disservice by having that much lazy money in the bank, not really keeping up with inflation.
Yeah.
Or you could keep a good amount for emergencies in the bank. I'm a big believer in that. But there's other, if you want to stay conservative, there's way better alternatives that are safe and growing your money, and in some cases have these ancillary benefits like long-term care, stuff like that, where we can just show you there's better options if you're too conservative. You don't want to take a lot of risk. There are some pretty neat options out there that I'll bet most of our viewers haven't been exposed to, and that's all we're offering is come in, learn about these other options. There's no pressure. You know, we're on your side of the table. We want to show you, hey, and I'll ask you if there was a better way, if there was a better option or maybe something you weren't aware of, when would you want to know about it?
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, right? And that's really all we're offering to folks is we want to help you. We're on your side of the table. Come in. We're educators at heart. We're not salespeople. We want to educate you that, hey, maybe, just maybe, there's some better options or some little tweaks here and there in your money and the way you're allocated that can make a big improvement. But there's no way you'll know unless you come in.
So I think focused is a lot better than scattered. I think for most of us, we've got a junk drawer at home. And we know there's a lot of good stuff in it. Just haven't been able to put it all together so that it all works. Maybe that's your financial situation for you right now. You're just trying to figure out how to put the junk drawer together and make it all clean so that it will work in the way you want it to work, and you know where everything is, how it works, because the purpose determines the placement. There is no lazy money. There is no question about where I'm going because I know I want this that I have now focused to last until my last breath. And I'd like somebody to help me with it. You found it. You landed here for a reason today. To make the call to 877-697-6236 so that you can have that peace of mind with a complimentary written financial plan that says, I'm focused now. I know exactly where I'm going, and this is the team that was going to lead me there. Thanks for spending time with us today. We're grateful for that time. Can't wait to see you in the office. Right back here next time on Wealthy Living New Mexico. See ya.